Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. I thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, uh, share this and care for this. The Straight Game. Share this with your friends. I'm gonna wait for some of the folks to come up in here. We're gonna get into it. He's saying he gonna plead the fifth. And what we're asking, is it too late? Will that matter? Big B Dot, what's happening? Welcome, brother. Appreciate you. From North Carolina, what up, B Dot? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome, welcome. Click the like button, share. We're gonna get into it on this good Wednesday night. So Keffe D basically saying that he's gonna plead the fifth. He's gonna plead the fifth. Is it too late? Whether at this particular point, now that he has said as much as he said, we're gonna try to figure out, is that the best thing to do? Or should he testify on his own behalf to state whatever he was stating, that it was a joke, he was lying? Will that matter? Greetings, North Carolina, New York City. What's up? Let's get into it. Hopefully, YouTube is sending out the notifications. So I'm gonna get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Keffe D has spoken, basically saying, in the trial, what I would like to think of the century. Well, most people comparing this to would compare this to saying it's going to be big as the O.J. Simpson trial. I beg to differ on that one, based on the fact that the components that the O.J. Simpson trial had, basically being that, may she rest in peace, Nicole Simpson. She was Caucasian, O.J. being black, O.J. being a superstar athlete, and the racial components that operated under that trial, if you will, for the people who are familiar with that. But Keffe D's basically saying he's going to refuse to testify in the November trial in the murder of Tupac Shakur. And my first question to you guys is, will that matter? Jeannie, what's happening? Rossi Carrera, New York. Gaston Neal, DC in the building. Evening, good afternoon, good morning. Yeah, this Straight Game. Look, so like I was saying, I don't think this trial is going to be big as the O.J. Simpson trial, but I think this trial is going to be huge. Eric Mack, what's happening? Atlanta, Georgia. Vince Pomo, Dalio Evans, plead the fifth. Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Evans, I that's the question. Has he talked too much? And in not talking, is he doing himself a disservice and not talking? Let me get into it for the people that are in the room. Basically, Keffe D saying he's gonna refuse to testify in the November trial. Basically, Tupac Shakur murder suspect Keffe D recently refused to testify about his alleged role in the rapper's killing almost 30 years ago. And the latest development to come after Keffe D Davis was arrested and charged with Shakur's murder back in September 2023. Basically, Keffe D refused to answer questions connected to the September 7th, 1996 shooting that ultimately left Shakur dead at 25 years old. Keffe D plans to invoke his Fifth Amendment rights when his murder trial kicks off in November. Keffe D, and I quote, said, "I ain't saying shit no more." Did y'all hear that? Keffe D plans to invoke his Fifth Amendment right to remain silent when his murder trial kicks off in November. And the quote directly from Keffe D saying, "I ain't saying shit no more." Keffe D reportedly said ahead of his trial, uh, he also reportedly claimed that he was fitted up in connection with Shakur's murder in Las Vegas roughly 28 years ago, if you will, whatever that means, fitted up. Um, Also, Keffe D's lawyer recently spoke and revealed that the accused murderer was confident that he would be acquitted when the case goes to trial later this year. I don't know about that. I'm not trying to make no predictions, guesses, or anything. Like I said, we've heard a lot from Keffe D, and my question is, will him not testifying in his trial hurt or help him? What do you guys think? Is it gonna hurt or help him? Jim Dell, what's happening? Yeah, I believe everybody has a voice, but like I said, with the social media presence and all of the avenues in which to cover it, it definitely will be widely reported on. But I don't think it's going to be big as the O.J. Simpson trial based on the racial component and basically preceded, uh, or should I say, what came before the O.J. Simpson trial, which was the Rodney King situation that that played a lot into what that OJ verdict was. Yeah, like I said, most people don't really understand at this particular point. I think it would be wise for Keffe D to testify on his own behalf, because what the jury or the judge is going to be listening to is the fact that he had all of the videotapes being played in court when he was saying what he was saying. And there's a numerous amount of times in where Keffe D had doubled and tripled down on the fact, you know, that what he's saying was true. Buy my book because it ain't nothing but the truth, and and so on and so forth. So him saying that and going through his lawyer, me personally, I don't think that's a good strategy. Yeah, yeah. Basically, the whole world did watch the O.J. Simpson trial. Yeah, they were glued to their televisions. But this trial here, I think is going to have a different spin to it from the perspective of it being Tupac Shakur and Tupac's millions of fans really want to see, how this is going to play out. He said the lawyer said he don't know nothing, literally nothing, and he don't want to say nothing. That's because every time he does, he gets in trouble, I guess. Yeah, I would have to say not only does he get in trouble, but he said he's already said enough. I don't know what, like I said again, man, I don't know how not testifying on Keffe D on his own behalf. Um, if he doesn't testify, he's basically leaving his life in the hands of his lawyer and taking bad advice, if you will. Just like evidently the advice he took, when he did the proffer agreement, because he didn't know what he was signing at that particular time. And he came out and started talking as much as he did up until the time that he was arrested. Now, here comes some other strategy that they're going to work out, from that perspective, and basically saying that, hey, you know what, Keffe D is going to plead the fifth. He said, basically, I ain't saying shit no more, from that perspective. I think at the end of the day, that's an ill-guided decision, but uh, Keffe D and his lawyer's decision to make, if you will, right? Basically what they're saying is Keffe D basically saying, I ain't saying shit no more, and I'm gonna take the fifth. He feels like it's a winnable case. The suspect lawyer, Carl Arnold, said he talked to uh, the media, and he always felt that way. He's saying that Keffe D always felt that it was a winnable case. He's never asked me to plea bargain, and we are going to trial, is what Keffe D lawyer said. He said Keffe D lawyer said Keffe D has always felt that It was a winnable case. He will not plea bargain, and they are going to trial to fight this case. They taking it to the steps of the courthouse, if you will. And he said also that Keffe D will not be giving evidence. Now, basically, they're basically going to try to make the prosecution prove everything. Prove that Keffe D was in Vegas that night, and they say, sources, people that are close to Keffe D are basically saying that that Shakur, accused murderer, would not take the stand at the trial in November. He has zero benefit, and I would say that he has zero benefit from the perspective that he might talk himself into a hole, and upon cross-examination, and they would, like I told you, they would ask him certain questions, then they would revert back to the videos that he did. They would ask him certain questions, and then they would revert back to the statement that he gave Greg Kading and them, right? So it would be in his best interest, because he's talked so much and said so many things, I believe, to testify on his own behalf and try to convince the judge that, I was doing it for money. That's the only way that he's going to have to basically go up against the word that he said to Vlad, go up against the words that he said to Art of Dialogue, go up against the words that he said to Greg Kading them and the U.S. Attorney's Office when they gave him the proffer agreement. This is what he's going to have to do. And there's no way, if he's just letting those tapes of him basically convict himself play, then it's to be believed that, what, if you can go on these, I'll tell you like this, if he can go on Vlad and Art of Dialogue and all these other channels and get paid, right? If he can go on those channels and get paid, but when it comes to his life actually being in the balance of him probably receiving life in prison for the murder of Tupac Shakur, if he cannot get up there and testify to save himself, then it's going to be believed that everything that he said in those interviews was actually true. I'm going to tell you, that's how it's going to be perceived. It's going to be perceived that everything Keffe D said in those interviews are true. And so, with that being said, what do you guys think? Phil say, I agree. Yeah, I agree too. That's what I'm saying. Like I said, I don't think that it's been well thought out. If you said all of those things, if the primary evidence that they have against Keffe D is the interviews that he did and the interview with Greg Kading when they got the proffer agreement, and he's admitting to all of these things, the stuff involving Puffy and Suge and all of these other things, and basically what if they're believing to what he said was true, and he's saying it, and they're gonna play video where he say, buy my book because it ain't nothing but the truth. And now all of a sudden he's caught for the murder or charged with the murder of Tupac Shakur, and he's gonna sit there and say, you know what, I'm gonna plead the fifth now. It's gonna be believed that everything that he said. So how do you fight that on appeal? Even if Keffe D's convicted, then how would he fight that on appeal? Because he didn't speak, and that's not a good thing. Basically, it's saying that there is zero benefit from letting Keffe D take the stand or face any detailed examination by professional lawyers. Basically, someone who's close to the situation said, they're basically saying Keffe D is a loose cannon when it comes to running his mouth. The source continued, it is what has got him in trouble, given that he confessed to his role in 2 police interviews. Y'all hear that? That's what I'm trying to do. Everybody's not looking at that. Keffe D actually confessed to his role in the Tupac Shakur murder in 2 police interviews and not face legal action. You would have to have thought that he would have shut up, or they say shut his ass up, in regards to the Tupac situation. Now, most people say, well, what was the second interview? Keffe D actually confessed to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department when they did an interview with him that he was actually involved, and explained how he was involved with the Tupac murder. Most people don't even know that. Absolutely, all hell. And that's what I'm talking about. He if he does not speak, he's automatically just looking at being found guilty. Right? And like I said, most people didn't know that Keffe D confessed not to one, but in two police interviews to his involvement in the Tupac Shakur trial. I mean, in the Tupac Shakur murder. I'm sorry. Absolutely, Vince. And that's what I'm saying. Most people not really paying attention to that. Like I said, for the people that they holler out free Keffe D, I can understand that. I mean, if you're a family member, if you're a friend or whatever, like I said, and Keffe D in a different light than the light that they're currently shining on him, or currently that he shined on himself, then yeah. Theme, I would respectfully disagree with you when he went on Vlad, and Vlad asked him certain questions in regards to the book. This is going to be the thing that's going to make it hard when he goes to court, is the fact that ignorance is no excuse at this particular point. Keffe didn't know what he was in his book. He confessed that go by his book because it's nothing but the truth. So I mean, I don't think like I said, that's gonna work. That's not gonna be a formidable argument. That you can basically play in front of a judge. People who have no dog in the fight from that perspective, right? And then basically, they saying Keffe D's a loose cannon when it comes to running his mouth. Wow. Yeah, that you ain't lying about that. Um, but they saying, but no, he couldn't stop because he wanted fame. They saying that Keffe D couldn't stop talking because he wanted fame. Keffe D's lawyer plans to subpoena Shakur's friend Suge Knight in connection to his client's murder case. Um, Basically, what Suge Knight was sitting beside Tupac when the rap was gunned down in September 1996. Yeah, he said Keffe D's decision not to testify in his upcoming murder trial comes after Keffe D discussed his alleged role in Shakur's murder several times. Even when they try to write about it, right? They know it doesn't make sense. The suspect admitted, listen, y'all, Keffe D admitted in police interviews, documentaries, and even in his own book how he allegedly orchestrated Shakur's murder and was even in the car when his nephew Orlando Anderson allegedly shot Shakur in Las Vegas on the night of September 7th, 1996. Right? We know that the police raided Keffe D's house in July 2023, and he was arrested and charged with Tupac's murder 2 months later in September of last year, right? Keffe D is pleaded not guilty, y'all. His lawyers say he does not plan on taking any kind of plea agreement, and they go on to trial. They say they're gonna fight it all the way through, right? Yeah, November 4th. The trial will kick off on November 4th, 2024, right? This is the biggest thing. This is the thing that I find more ironic than anything. And I'm sure that, because it's like It's like when you go into to Mark Furman when he was on the trial on the in the O.J. Simpson trial. Remember, they asked Mark Furman, "Have he ever used the N word when describing African Americans?" Right? And in his first testimony, Mark Furman said everything. He was talking. He was he was um he was you know giving his explanation about the glove, about where it was, and so on and so forth. Right? Remember, they brung the tapes in of Mark Furman actually using the N word and referring to black people as the N word, and found that he had lied on the stand. At that particular at that particular time, I believe that that's what set O.J. Simpson free. Right? This case is identical in the same way, but it's going to have the reverse effect. Right? Remember, they have tapes of Keffe D, like they had tapes of Mark Furman. Keffe D, in fact, is the new O.J. Simpson on trial based on the fact. Remember, O.J. Simpson also wrote a book. Remember, if I did it, this is how, or something like that, right? Keffe D then writes a book about the same thing. It was about murder in regards to O.J. Simpson situation. Keffe D was about the murder and the situation involving Tupac Shakur, right? Same exact scenario, if you will. OJ then goes to Vegas and tries to recapture some of his stolen items in which he said, once again, believing that all is sweet after he had been given a get out of jail free card by the jury, right? After looking further into it, I hold my beliefs from that perspective. And yeah, I believe OJ Simpson did it. After looking over it for a while, I was like, okay. Then he went to the house, he stalked her, he went again, and then he came over the house again. He was watching through the window, and when she was with the guy, and so on and so forth, and blah, blah, blah. You can believe what you want to believe, right? Like I said. But the jury, because of the climate at that particular time involving Rodney King, felt like, okay, and they put on a bad case. They should have never asked him to put on the glove. But on side of that, right? O.J. Simpson wrote a book. Keffe D wrote a book. O.J. Simpson got off through the jury. Keffe D got off through the government and a deal that he received the proffer agreement, right? Right? And so then O.J. Simpson goes and writes a book. Keffe D goes and writes the book. O.J. Simpson then goes to Vegas and does something careless, trying to get some memorabilia, signed autograph stuff back from these guys, and end up getting 33 years, and which is the same amount of money they awarded the family $33 million, right? He got 33 years and was ordered in the civil trial to pay $33 million to the Goldman family, right? Check it out. Keffe D situation in the same manner. Remember, Mark Furman in the tapes, Keffe D in the tapes, right? But because Mark Furman talked and he lied, Keffe D situation, he's saying, boom, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to plead the fifth. Remember when they called Mark Furman back to the stand again after they found out he was lying and they played the tapes? What did Mark Furman do? He pleaded the fifth. And at that very moment, I knew they wasn't going to convict O.J. Simpson because you were dealing with people who had dealt with so much racism and so on and so forth. And so the only way that I could see Keffe D being given any kind of deal is that he put himself at the mercy of the judge and testify and basically begs and pleads. I was just joking. I wasn't telling the truth. I was just trying to get some money. But if he does not do that, those tapes, like the tapes that were played in the O.J. Simpson trial when Mark Furman was saying what he was saying after Mark Furman lied, was the thing that sent O.J. free and after Mark Furman pleaded the fifth. And they had asked Mark Furman, remember, the glove was a key piece of evidence. They asked Mark Furman, they said, did you tamper with any evidence involving this trial? And Mark Furman said, I respectfully take my Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Right? There's your reasonable doubt right there. When the simple answer to that question should have been no, I didn't. I can't. I couldn't have. Even though he had used the N-word. There you have it. So now, Keffe D basically saying, no, I'm going to take the Fifth. After all of that talking on those tapes, after all of the talking to the U.S. Attorney, Greg Kading and the LAPD, right? After all of that talking to the Art of Dialogue, after all of that talking to Vlad on Vlad TV, right? Now, all of a sudden, the strategy is to plead the Fifth. I think this is the worst kind of move that Keffe D could possibly make. I think he needs to get up and basically try to the best that he possibly can to explain his story. Yeah. Because at this particular point, I don't think it's going to work. What do you guys think? Yeah, the young lady that had those tapes, like I said, but once again, do you see the correlation though? The correlation, OJ tried to write the book, write the book, Keffe D wrote the book. OJ got off based on the sympathy of the jury, if you will, and them presenting a bad case, and Johnny Cochran's excellent lawyer ability, right, to be able to take a situation and say, hey, flip this. If you can't believe them, they talking about calling, black people this and blah 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 and so on and so forth. Which was great lawyering. You know, but yeah. So like I said, I don't see Carl Arnold's position as to how this is going to be a winnable situation involving Keffe D. Yeah. Right, Block Ice. Like I said, once again, the glove was related to Mark Furman. Now, had not Mark Furman been a racist or had used those words and things like that, I believe that they would have probably gotten a conviction. The evidence was leaning. Once they exposed and them tapes was let go of him saying all of that stuff, it was a wrap. Now you have all the reasonable doubt to believe that he could possibly plant the glove because OJ was black and all of that, which I really don't believe that he did. You know what I mean? But how Johnny Cochran and the legal team made it appear, that OJ well, not that he didn't do it, but it focused on more on that situation than it did on the situation with OJ from that perspective. Me personally, after watching closely, I believe that OJ Simpson did it. Yeah. I believe that he did it. Without a doubt. The cut on his hand, all of that stuff. And oh yeah. And so, like I said, I think he couldn't believe that she was gonna leave him. And then the fact that she had other men she was dating, the Marcus Allen situation, all of those things. Yeah. And then the the police officer, he said OJ told two different stories about how he cut his hand. One minute he said that he was in Chicago and he cut it on the glass or something like that, and then the next time he said he cut it trying to reach for something in the Bronco or something like that. Yeah, that's for each lawyer. That was like for each lawyer from what I understood. There's a lot of money spent. Yeah, that was funny. But like I said, so what do y'all think? Like, Keffe D pleading the Fifth. Do you think it's gonna work or is it gonna backfire? Right? And like I said, the most important part is this. And I've read something and where they said that Keffe D they already have evidence that Keffe D stayed at the Monte Carlo in Las Vegas, if you will. They have evidence, I believe they have receipts. So if that's going to be there, and like I said, once again, receipts and things like that go back. They go all the way back, and I'm sure that they already did that part of the investigation early on, and they probably have that already. But from what I understand, they have evidence that Keffe D stayed at the Monte Carlo. I read that, and So, basically, Keffe D's lawyer saying is that Keffe D was not in Las Vegas at that time. There is no murder weapon, and they don't have a car used during the shooting as evidence. Keffe D lawyer recently said ahead of his suspects or his client's trial, if you will. But I don't think that matters at this particular point. Because like I said, Keffe D already, if Keffe D's not gonna get up on the stand and said, I was not in Las Vegas at that particular time. See, this is the thing Keffe D's gonna have to get up on the stand and say, I was lying, I did it for money, I did it for entertainment purposes, all of the story, including the stuff that I told Greg, Katie, and them during the interview when they gave me the proffer agreement. He's gonna have to confess to lying all about all of that, right? And then on top of that, the only thing that that'll make him get off if he says, I was not in Las Vegas at the time, I was lying, and blah, blah, blah. And he can offer up I'm talking about a solid alibi as to where he was on September 7th, 1996 at approximately 11 o'clock at night. Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. That's a possibility. But like I said, it's the burden of proof is a little bit it's much more harder than any kind of civil case for that matter. So I think if he did talk, Brownsville, Brooklyn, if he did talk, then what he's gonna have to convince, right? What he's gonna have to convince is that he wasn't in Vegas. If he convinced him that he wasn't in Vegas, then it's not guilty. Because you can't be somewhere, you can't be two places at one time. That's the only way that Keffe D gets off. But for him to do that, Keffe D is going to have to present a solid alibi as to where he was on that night in question. If he cannot do that, then he will be found guilty in my best understanding of what the evidence is and how they're going to present this. He has to get up on the stand and say, look, I did this because I was lying, so on and so forth, or whatever whatever his reason for doing it was, and so on and so forth, and saying all of these things and writing the book and so on and so forth, right? That's going to be the only way that it's going to happen. Other than that, I can't see, any judge saying, well, I'm not convinced. You weren't in Vegas. Okay, that's your burden of proof. You got to prove that you wasn't in Vegas. You can't merely say that you was in Vegas. You got to prove that you wasn't. If that's what they're saying, my client's saying that he wasn't in Vegas. They haven't proven that he was in Vegas. No, they have. You know what they're gonna use to prove that Keffe D was in Vegas? Keffe D's own words. So the only way he's going to be able to convince them that he wasn't in Vegas, if not only of his words, because he already admitted to that he's a liar, right? He's basically saying I lied about everything for money. And so his lawyer's saying, well, you can't believe Keffe D, right? Well, now that he's been caught, is what he's saying. Now, but his lawyer, Keffe D's lawyer is basically saying that they're not gonna that Keffe D never asked him for a deal, right? They said, no, we're not taking no deal. Like I said, Keffe D lawyer says he feels that it's a winnable case. Keffe D feels that it's a winnable case. And that's what his lawyer said, right? He's always felt that way. He's never asked me to plea bargain. We're going to trial. They saying they taking it all the way to trial. They ain't gonna play with it. They're gonna stay with it. And like I said, when you think about the bigger picture, it's I don't think that that's a great well, Greg Kading, let's be clear about Greg Kading, right? Greg Kading being a liar is of no consequence. You understand what I'm saying? Greg Kading ain't gonna be on trial. Now, if they can prove that Greg Kading lied in some way or whatever have you, okay, cool. But Greg Kading wasn't the one who was seeking a deal with the United States government. It was Keffe D. Right, right, R. Hill. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. It's like police can lie to you. That's part of their job, to try to find out the truth of the matter. But what I'm saying to you, under the circumstances and what that actually means is, they're saying that Keffe D is going to plead the fifth. I'm saying that, in my understanding of him pleading the fifth, after talking to all of the people that he's talked to, all of these documentaries, and basically it says as much, right? Keffe D confessed. Listen, y'all, because Keffe D has already confessed to his involvement in 2 police interviews. Not one, but 2 police interviews. He confessed to Greg Kading them in the U.S. Attorney's Office, and he also confessed to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Most people don't know about that, right? And so, by that being not an assumption, but a fact, how does Keffe D now get around the fact that he confessed to 2 police departments and 2 police interviews, which they are going to use as evidence to convict him, right? So I don't see how it's a winnable case. They think it's a winnable case. You know what I mean? Him confessing in those 2 prior interviews, like I said, I just don't see it, man. I just can't. I can't see it, man. Listen, basically, Keffe D, the suspect, admitted in 2 police interviews, documentaries, and even in his own book. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 confessions, right? Including his book, in those 5 confessions, how he allegedly orchestrated Tupac Shakur's murder, and was even in the car when his nephew, these are Keffe D's words, man. He said that he was even in the car when his nephew, Orlando Anderson, allegedly shot Shakur in Las Vegas on the night of September 7th, 1996. Right? So the question I'm asking is, how does he get around that in pleading the fifth during trial on November 4th, 2024? Yeah, he said it over and over. That's what I'm saying. That's what prompted me to do this video. If he said it 5 times, and including one of those 5 times in the book that he wrote, then how does he now go to court on November 4th, 2024, and then plead the fifth and not talk? Say, fool me once, my fault. Fool me twice, but fool me 5 times at my own admission, it's a whole nother ball game. Well, in fact, he was talking, if anybody was paying at that particular time, according to his own words. He did it for money. He did it for fame. He did it to sell his book. So yeah, this is, like I said, this is another, in I guess, trying to build up some kind of publicity for the trial involving this situation involving Keffe D. This is looking yeah, I don't think it's gonna be, yeah, I don't know. I think Keffe D might need he might need another lawyer, or have some other legal advice being given to him, because I don't think that's gonna work. Because if he doesn't say anything, right? If he doesn't say anything, then he's actually saying a lot. You ever hear that expression? Sometimes not saying nothing is actually saying a lot. I think that's the situation involving this Tupac, this murder case involving Keffe D. Him not testifying at his own trial is gonna be him saying a lot. What's up, Crystal Hope? Easy work, Jersey girl, CT. Cali Kills 714, R. Hill, Kevin James, Boss Man Boss. Hey, but Boss Man, it ain't that they have receipts after 20 years, right? He gave them all the receipts that they needed. Like I said, just like OJ Simpson, all the OJ Simpson had to do was sit his ass down somewhere. But he couldn't do it. He thought he was invincible. And Keffe D thought that he had immunity. And that's a kind of invincibility, if you will, when dealing with the government, when they give you immunity or a limited immunity, in which Keffe D had at that particular time, in which he didn't, you know, I guess all of the legal stipulations behind the deal that he had made with the government, right? And so he wrote a book, like I said, OJ Simpson wrote a book. If I Did It, right? Keffe D wrote a book. I'm a Gangster, the murder of Tupac Shakur, blah, 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 blah. Right? Because Keffe D thought he had immunity. And OJ Simpson thought he was untouchable and thought that the double jeopardy situation had him covered, in which was true. But then he went and committed another crime in Las Vegas. Was in Las Vegas, Clark County Detention Center, the same place that Keffe D's at right now. Right? And got sentenced to 33 years. But got out early. You see what I'm saying? Keffe had a deal with the government, avoiding punishment in the murder of Tupac Shakur, but then kept talking, right? When he should have just went, like OJ should have just went and chilled out and sat down and not said anything about it. So, yeah, but we're gonna see what happened with this one, man. This is very, very interesting. The fact that they will put out there that Keffe D's not going to talk, and Keffe D, like I said, and I quote, Keffe D's basically said, "I ain't saying shit no more." That's what he said. Keffe D say, "I ain't saying shit no more." Basically, he said he also reported claim he was fitted up in connection with Tupac Shakur's murder roughly 28 years ago. I don't know what that fitted up mean, but like I said, that's what he said. But he said he ain't saying shit no more. You know, no matter who paying him, no matter how much money it is, I ain't saying nothing. You know, and so I guess he gonna let his lawyer do all of the talking from here on out. But I think it's a little too late, man. Yeah, yeah, in the book. Yeah, Mr. Block Ice 22. Yep. Absolutely. So we're gonna see what happens, man. We're gonna see what happens, man. Thank y'all for tuning in with me. And with DELRAY, straight game. Keffe D saying, you know what? I'm pleading the fifth. But I think it's too late. But what do I know? You know what I mean? They're gonna have to prove that in court after all of the talking that he did. It's gonna get interesting. Straight game.